Welcome to the Blindside Blitz, the show that hits harder than a safety coming free off the edge. The NFL playoff picture is finally coming into focus, and some of last year's heavyweights are suddenly wobbling. The Lions, the Chiefs, the Ravens, they're all staring at the bracket from the wrong side of the glass as the postseason race heats up. We're breaking down who's slipping, who's surging, who's about to make a fourth quarter push for their season. And also, we can't ignore the Brown situation after two brutal two-point conversion misfires. Is Kevin Stefanski's coaching job over? Is he coaching for his job right now? Or is this just a momentarily misread at the line? We'll dive into all of it. Strap up, buckle in. It's time to kick this thing off. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Blindside Blitz, and there's my co-host, Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Blitz Nation? Are you ready to talk some football? Because my oh my, have things changed in 1 week? We got playoff seeding, moving up, moving down. It's absolute chaos. We're gonna cover that for you guys. But we got so many other topics. Jim, how the hell have you been?
I've been better. I've been better. Today was a rough day, but, I'm looking forward to that tonight and how we're, going to talk about some football and break some things down. So I'm excited. Let's get right into it, Joe. So we had some exciting games that, again, towards the end of this season, a lot of these matchups are individual between the divisions and really have a lot on the line that really means something. I know Thursday's matchup, it didn't disappoint either. We got the Lions and the Cowboys here. Cowboys trying to get back into it, but the Lions, again, at home, play with some fire. Here we go. Again, just when you're asking questions, Amon-Ra St. Brown injured, but decides to play too. And it seems like now teams have to kind of figure out their identity, right, and move forward. Some of these teams that are kind of wavering right now, I think they still don't know what their identity is. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they can't figure it out for some reason, even though they're returning champions, right?
But Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback.
Right. Yeah. And then look at even the Lions, what they're doing. The Ravens right now, what they're doing. So a lot of these teams from last season looking on the outside, looking in at some of this fresh blood up in here. So it's getting very interesting. Let's talk first about the teams, I guess, on the outside looking in. Let's take a look at the Lions again. Last week, they win against the Dallas Cowboys in a tough one here, but the Lions really kind of put it to them. It seemed like the Cowboys, too, weren't getting on the same page with George Pickens. One of the first times we've seen him kind of look like he quit on his team this year, right?
Yeah, you know what? It looks like it, right? It looks like, things just aren't going well for them at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. So, I mean, if you look at the Lions schedule moving forward, though, too, it doesn't get easy, right? I mean, some of them are going to be tough. That Bears matchup at the end of the season, that could have serious implications here because the way that division is playing out, you got the Bears and the Packers right there. Packers just overtook them here to lead the division right now. But you've got the Rams next week that the Lions have to face now in Los Angeles, where the Rams do actually bring some fans there. It's not like the Chargers here, where last night we're watching the game and there's all Philly fans, and they still have that one Asian token Charger fan shows up. They bring
She's
her.
Die hard, man. She's die hard. She's every
Joe
single
Buck
game.
even knows her. It's like, hey, it's that lady we hired to bring it over.
Yeah, it's like she's the Taylor Swift for the Chargers. Like they always gotta put the camera on her because she's absolutely an emphatic fan, and they love to see it. The only fan that they have at home. But yeah, you saw the Eagles. Like, yes, it was kind of like surprisingly, honestly, Jim, it was kind of more like 50-50 in that stadium.
Yeah.
It seems like they are gaining fans because they are right there for the playoff hunt. They're still doing their due diligence now. They got a big matchup coming up against the Chiefs. they could literally knock the Chiefs out of playoff contention if they win that game.
Yeah, absolutely. But getting back to the Lions again, they've got the Rams to play there. The Steelers, who again, after you're having rumors or people forcing, fans going crazy, they want to see Mike Tomlin out. They're already talking to NFL, analysts are already saying, well, where's the landing spot for Mike Tomlin now? He could go to the
Right.
Giants. Like, this is that funny how things happen in that week to week. And I love Aaron Rodgers, right? They hate Aaron Rodgers. The media hates him stuff, but I love this guy just because he says what's on his mind nonstop, like no
Oh,
filter.
yeah.
And that's true. I love it. So when he comes out and says, you guys, you want to shut the F up now, it's like you guys need something to talk about. I love it. But you've got the Steelers, the Rams, the Vikings, and then the Chicago Bears here to fill out the last couple of games here for the Lions. So it's not going to be exactly easy. I could see them beating
It's a tough
the
one.
Vikings here.
Mhm.
Even though Vikings really played hard in this last game, I didn't really see that coming out of this team. But who they haven't showed us anything like that at all this whole season. It seemed like they heard our broadcast last week, the little bit that I was on, and we're like, wow, yeah, we do have to run the ball efficiently. We do need Jordan Mason to step up. We do need JJ McCarthy to get it out to these weapons. But it's gonna be a long road here for the Lions to try and make the cut.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough stretch of schedule to kind of finish up and try to get your way back, move your way, wiggle your way back into the playoffs. But again, this is a team that if they can continue to play like they did, against the Cowboys and surprise some people, and um, I still am a little concerned. I'm still concerned about Dan Campbell. I don't know how much more that's going to affect them with these other matchups that they're going to have that are much tougher, that they're going to have to grind through. But I'll tell you right now, what I saw out of the Lions is a never die attitude. I saw
Mhm.
this is the Detroit Lions that I was, foreseeing in week one, that I thought down the stretch of the season they would already handily have the division in their grasp. But that hasn't happened. It's been a very up and down season for everybody, and
Mhm.
it seems to change week to week. With Detroit now, they have to continue the momentum. We said that they needed to get that first win back and get the train back on the tracks. Let's see what they can do now. Now they have a little bit of momentum. Let's see if they can ride that wave right down to the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's going to be a rough road for to get there. As far as the other teams, again, the Cowboys, Panthers, Vikings up in this race. Again, I think with their losses all last week, really was it for all of them. Except for the Vikings won, but they got a 1% chance. There's no
No,
absolutely way they're making this one at all. So
no.
that brings us to the NFC and looking at their playoff hunt, right? You got the Bears still in it. They dropped 6 spots here in that playoff picture because that 1v1 here with the Packers. Though, like I said, that makes a difference because once you're winning that division, that leapfrogs you in there, and then you're no longer one of those lower seeds that are a playoff, a wild card team. But they've got a tough road ahead of them too, moving forward. But the Bears again, they showed last week that again, true running game and defense is that team. They win not because of what Caleb Williams is doing. They win despite of what he's doing, but kind of takes them the game to get some rhythm and pulls out some big enough plays at the end to kind of solidify their game. But it is key and all depends on defense.
Yeah, it's defense. It's a defensive game, especially that division is very tough. The Packers now, they're also now starting to kind of rival them right now in the division. And honestly, the Bears going down the stretch, they got to remain in the winning column. They got to continue to win. And if they want to get a chance to kind of take over this division, surprise the entire NFL on being division champs and then moving on into the playoffs, then they got to win these close games. So nothing is given in the NFL. We've already learned that. Like you have to own it, you have to earn it. And some of these teams, even at this point in the season, we're just not seeing that. We're not seeing any one team taking the torch and just literally running through opponents and not having to worry about these close playoff races or whatnot. So Bears are they're in the same kind of situation where, like, again, They still have to continue to prove themselves. Caleb Williams still has to get better every single week. And you've already seen a dramatic change in his game playing style. You've seen a guy that went from, you look at last year to this year, it's like night and day now. Yes, does he
Yeah.
still do sometimes every once in a while he'll hold the ball on a little bit too longer, or he'll run around the pocket and then but it's different now. It's like
Yeah.
he might still make those minor mistakes from time to time, but he's also making the better decisions from time to time. Now it's just a matter of being more consistent, especially when you're chasing the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah. One key thing is not running backwards when the rush comes, right? Running around and trying to make forward progress, not running
That
backwards.
happens a lot with him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But some throws, again, he's usually trying to throw it away, which is positive for him, but then making some throws down the line. So Chicago's going to be that seed. I think still I think right now for the NFC, I don't think much is going to change, maybe except for seeding within the 8 that are here. I really
Right.
feel confident about the solid 8 that are here. I really don't see any other ones creeping in here. And the fact that the Lions, when they play the Bears in this last game here of the season, they could play spoiler, being the team on the outside looking in, and ruin the Bears' chances, because if the Bears happen to beat the Packers next week, not this coming week, but the week after, they get to play the Packers again, and then they can pull out a victory. Again, that makes this division so much closer here, and they'll leapfrog each other for this division. So they want to be able to take that and be there. And if the Lions can kind of play spoiler here and take them down a notch to where now the Bears have to go to Los Angeles and play the Rams, it's going to be a tougher out here for the Bears.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, right now they are not leading the division. Green Bay's in the lead. They're
Right.
9,
Right.
3, and 1. So
Mhm.
if let's just say, for example, if the Bears end up winning the next game that they play against the Packers, now it goes to strength of schedule if they
Yep.
have a tie, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
it's weird because the Packers ended up with a tie this
Yep.
season. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure how that works or gets, is it better to have a tie? Is it worse to have a tie? It's a weird gray area. So
Mhm.
I'll let the NFL officials figure all that out. But
Scary.
again, yeah, yeah, we let them handle scheduling, but
Uh,
they'll figure all that stuff out. But you're right. Like, this is a division that is still up for grabs. The Detroit Lions now look like they have a reason to continue to play. You know what I mean? All hope isn't lost yet there. So you gotta they are also one of those teams where, like, who knows? Maybe they can, claw their way into that wild card. And then once you make the playoffs, it's a completely new season. It's like that's the one hurdle that you have to overcome in the NFLs. Make the playoffs number 1. Once you make it, whether you're a wild card or you're the number 1 seed or anywhere in between, now it's go time. Now it's turn the page. It's a whole new season. It's sudden
mhm.
death. So you got to bring your A game.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the teams I think I'm kind of surprised by to an extent, but a team that's built right and everything you kind of hoped for a season, because we've seen so many teams here not make it or see where they are just because of injuries, right? I mean, look at the
Mhm.
Chargers. They're fighting through injuries and still being there
Yeah,
and competing and still in that playoff order. The Lions have dealt with enough injuries too, and I feel like that those injuries, especially on the defensive side, had kind of plagued that team a little bit, and that's kind of
mhm.
why they are where they are. And then losing now Brian Branch, potentially after last week, the last weekend's here
They
injury.
played without him last year though. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
I know, right? So but the 49ers, what they have done with having no wide receivers because of injury, not having their starting quarterback in, right? And
For
having
several
Mac
weeks, yeah.
Jones there playing them, right? And just to keep the ship afloat, you've got your starters coming back healthy. That defense, right? After losing, we talked about some of the equity they had lost in the offseason to other teams.
Mhm.
Robert Saleh there controlling the reins of that defense, playing great here in San Francisco. So that team as a nucleus playing great despite the injuries, sitting there at 9-4 in a tough NFC West division here.
Yeah, let's say what it is. Like, you even look at their defense now. there's a lot of guys that you might not even be accustomed to knowing. Fred
Right.
Werner, the middle linebacker, the
Right.
leader of that
He's
defense,
not even
is
there.
not there. Nick
No.
Bosa, one of the best pass rushers in this game, is not there. And not only that, they've lost the rookie D end. I'm trying to think. His last name's Williams, Michael Williams, I think I want to say
Mhm.
it is. He's done for the year. So like, it just seems to be an insurmountable amount of injuries to the 49ers. But guess what? No matter who or how many injuries total up, they seem to be in every single game. They seem to overcome the odds. Now, luckily for them, Mac Jones was the backup Brock Purdy and not nobody else,
Mm.
because Mac Jones played out of his mind when given the opportunity. And honestly, he played better than Brock Purdy, who is their starter. So, I mean, talk about keeping the train going. Talk about, keeping their head above water when things looked bleak and ugly. They were able to overcome not only all these injuries, but now they're winning games. They're right in the hunt right now at 9-4. 9-4 with all those
Mhm.
injuries, losing your
Mhm.
starting quarterback. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Wide receivers galore. Like, oh my God. And now they're getting healthy. Like, yeah, they're not going to have their top two defensive players back this season. But let me tell you, they're getting the receivers back. They're starting to gain chemistry. And then defensively, even on the defensive side of the ball, the newcomers that are taking over are starting to gel, and you see that happen right before your eyes. The Niners team is a dangerous team. They're a team that everybody kind of wrote off, and now at this point, at 9-4, they could very easily make the playoffs, but they gotta continue to win. They gotta do it.
Yeah. Which is very doable. Again, last 2 weeks of the season, I would say they're toughest,
Mhm.
where you've got that Bears defense and you've got the Seattle Seahawks defense, and the way they're playing too, and in that division. So, I mean, that's gonna
Oh,
have
yeah,
implications too in seeding with each other. One's gonna drop, one's gonna go up, or even if the Seahawks, they win, they're gonna elevate possibly more, depending on what happens with the Buccaneers in that division there. So, and the Eagles. So I mean, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think it might shuffle a little bit on this NFC side, but I think we've already have our 8 teams here or 7 teams to make the list here. But again, like I said, nothing uh but good
yeah,
things to say about the 49ers and what they've done this season.
right. And that's the other thing too is Philly. Philly losing now 8-5 or is it 8-6 now? With
They're eight
the
five,
They're eight
right?
and
Eight and
five
five.
right now.
Yeah, 8-5
Okay,
right now. Yes.
so with that loss to the Chargers, eight
Hmm.
and five, they're leading the division, and luckily for them, you know, the Cowboys started off really, behind the 8 ball,
Yeah.
and now they're trying to play catch up, but it doesn't look good right now. Now they have a 9% chance after losing last week. They have a 9% chance of making the playoffs, which basically is like it's wraps. Basically,
Yeah.
like they would need a ton of help in order to get them into the wild card at this point. But they also got to keep winning. They got to win the rest of the games and get a
Yeah.
lot of help. So things don't look good there. Philly looks like they're going to be able to finish off and win the division, but that's only if they start putting more wins in the W column. And that's
Yeah.
where your point, Jim, about how we have our top 8 basically, but the seeding's going to change as we still have several weeks of football. So the Green Bay Packers, the Bears, like that could move up and down. Who wins the division in the very end? The Rams seem like they got that cemented. They got their
Yeah.
division locked in. But if you lose to the Panthers and teams like that going down the stretch, you know what? It don't look good. So, but yeah, and the same thing for Tampa. I mean, Tampa in this NFC, they've kind of been they were hot in the beginning, and I understand they went through some major injuries and stuff with starters, offensive line, wide receivers, even Baker Mayfield recently
Mhm.
being playing banged up and still gutting it out. But they're 7-6 in that division. That
Mhm.
to me is not you can't be comfortable with that. So they got to handle business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Seattle Seahawks, um, their remaining schedule is they have I just saw it here too. I mean, they have where the heck did it go? Oh, well, I don't know. Let's bring up the Eagles. I know you talked about the Eagles, right?
Mhm.
The thing watching that last game was, again, telling to me. I think Troy Aikman brought up multiple times, and what we've kind of seen mainly this season. Jalen Hurts, yes, he has great QBR, or not even QBR, but completion percentage. Not turning the ball over. I think he's 62nd in
Yeah.
turning the ball over with only 6 interceptions. He's tied for 62nd, which is ridiculous. But the other aspects of his game, he's 14th in passing yards, tied for 12th in passing touchdowns, and his QBR, again, that's an ESPN thing, but they rave about it, especially with how Drake Mays is at the top here. He's 20th. And in completion percentage, he's out of the top 10 as well with 64%, which is still good, but still out of the top 10. So he's not going out there and leading his team to victories when in key moments he's missing the easy checkdowns and overthrowing and missing, AJ Brown, expecting him to come down with it as long as you throw it up somewhere near there. A lot of the times this past weekend, even they were behind him and high, so it's hard to make those catches. I know analysts want to say, hey, 9 times out of 10 he's taking that and catching that, but for to be on a crossing route and a wide receiver or a quarterback throws it behind you high also, that's tough to kind of contort your body to come down with that catch, especially when you have a corner bearing down on you to lay the hit. So right now, what's holding them back, I hate to say it again, is their quarterback in Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say this, like, how can you make that type of a catch when, unless you make a miraculous reach behind one-handed catch, you're running full speed across the field, and the ball, you got to, you can't just stop on a dime. You're running full speed. So the ball's got to be where it needs to be, accurately placed in front. It can still be high, but it's got to be in front to give him an opportunity. That's one thing. The other thing is Jalen Hurts. It seems like he's regressing the last couple of weeks. Like, what is this Jalen Hurts that we're watching on the TV screen? 4 interceptions? That's not going to get it done. You're going to hold.
Yeah.
You might be able to hold on to this division race and win it and cement your playoff spot. But I'll tell you right now, round 1 of your first game, the Eagles' first game in the playoffs, you cannot underperform. You cannot play like he's been playing. And AJ Brown, it's great that they got him back involved in the offense, but if you don't make the necessary throws when the opportunities arise, it's going to cost you. And you saw that in that Chargers game. Let's give kudos to the Chargers defense for once.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have been balling out. They've been playing out of their minds against high competition like the Eagles. That was in the beginning of that game. I'm like, I think the Eagles' physicality is going to get the better of the Chargers. That's what in the first quarter, it's like that's what it looked like. And then you're starting to Jalen Hurts forcing throws, Jalen Hurts missing opportunities to wide open. Well, maybe not wide open at times, but sometimes they were wide open and just missing that opportunity, overthrowing, underthrowing, whatever you want to call it. But then you look at this defense as well for the Eagles. They showed glimpses of being a juggernaut in that game, but then also they got had on quite a few plays, So again, it seems like this team is very inconsistent right now, and we don't know exactly. Are we going to get the Eagles of last year, or are we going to get the Eagles of what we saw this past game against the Chargers? And that's got to be concerning for Eagles fans, because I'll tell you right now, I understand they got all the confidence in the world with their team and all that, but you cannot continue to make mistakes like that Charger game and win in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and a good thing for them though, they've got a pretty easy road. They've got, except for the Bills, they've got the Commanders twice and your Raiders. Raiders is coming next week here. So the Raiders have been a pretty big disaster for them, so they should be able to handle business. And Washington with Marcus Mariota, probably. That's one thing. I know we're going to talk about injuries in a little bit, but again, I question the idea to bring Jaden Daniels back this season, at least at this point right now. You're not fighting for the division or anything right now. he was coming back in banged up, like, with a dislocated elbow. Yeah, I'm going to give it a
Yeah.
try.
Wait,
And
right.
one, he played terribly, probably
Mhm.
because of the injury, it. And then he's getting hurt more. So what is the point? Again, you talk about players putting themselves into danger and trying to prove toughness and stuff like that, protect the players. But this is, again, one of those things where protect the player from themselves. As a coach, you cannot say, I'm going to send him out there, because he might put us in the best chance to win. Right now, winning doesn't matter right now. Let's see what Marcus Mariota does. And he's actually been controlling the team fairly well. The problem is the defense. The defense isn't playing good. So keep your quarterback out of it and fix your defense. Instead, Jaden Daniels goes out there, plays like garbage, getting hit and injured again, where you can hurt him for further seasons. So I question the chance or the choice by Dan Campbell or Dan Quinn to put Jaden Daniels in on that one. But now moving forward for the Eagles, if they've got a Marcus Mariota though too as well, I don't see them being very afraid of them too. So they've got it pretty easy out here to lock in this division here to where the Cowboys aren't going to make a run at all on them.
Mr. Dan Campbell and the Washington Commanders. What the hell are you thinking? Honestly, Jaden Daniels, you're 3-10.
Yep.
You're not on the fringe of making the playoffs where you're like, okay, let's give it a shot. Hopefully he can help us get over the hump. No, it's a terrible coaching decision. Makes no sense why you would do that. So not only did you put your players in harm, your Jaden Daniels, you put him in harm's way, but now you got him re-injured on top of it. Yes, he has a whole off season to heal up and be ready for next season, but this is just not being smart at all. So for the Washington Commanders, salut, c'est la vie. It's over. The party's over. The season's over. Just protect the starters that you have. Prepare them for next season. You got to gear up in the off season. You got to get the defense right, like Jim mentioned, and you also got to get this offense right as well, because it can't just be Terry McLaurin or bust.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about the playoff picture right now. We're on the NFC, how it could be shaken up right now. I think all the teams that are in it right now, the top 7 here, are going to be here when it's all said and done, but it's going to shift. And one of those teams, I think for now also, is that's going to be the Seattle Seahawks, right? Because they've got kind of a tough questioning, I guess, remainder of their season too as well. We talked about them playing the Niners and how important that last game could be in seeding within even the division, but not only that, but the playoffs, because right now, currently, the Seahawks are the 5th seed, the 49ers are the 6th. The Colts, again, losing their quarterback, that's big there too, and I think they're on the downtick. They're going to be they're out of the playoffs right now, and I don't think they're going to creep back in, to be honest with you. And next they've got the Rams, and then the Panthers, not exactly is a tough out, especially with the Panthers playing at home this season the way they are, with them doing it to the Rams. Like, I don't question them out here. So that Panthers Seahawks could be a tough game here too. So they've got to win out as well here with a tough one with the 49ers. So the Seahawks, I could see them dropping to the 6th seed, at least in this one.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you got these critical divisional matchups late in the season. Thank you, NFL schedulers, for doing this, because this makes it more exciting. These are very, very, even though it's divisional matchup, they're very meaningful games besides that, but also playoff implications. Like Seattle and San Fran. It's going to definitely be, a changing of the guard in terms of seeding for one of those teams. Like you mentioned, Jim, like the Seattle Seahawks are 10-3 right now. This Niners are only a game behind them. So that could be the deciding factor, at the end of the season, where maybe they leapfrog Seattle, and it changes who they're going to end up facing, obviously. So the other key component, like you brought up the Detroit Lions earlier in the segment, and they are 8th. They're sitting right outside the playoff race right now, because they're another team that could they knock off the Bears. If the Bears happen to lose a game or maybe even 2 games down the stretch and they fail, Detroit continues to win. They get into the playoffs. Chicago gets left outside. So there's a lot of interesting scenarios that are going to take place over the next few weeks that we're going to we're going to be back here talking about it again. The final
Mhm.
bracket, the final 7 that made it, who got left out, who snuck in. But again, is not it's definitely the most exciting NFL season because it's been so unpredictable, and it's going to continue right to the very last week.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about continuing to the last week, I think the Buccaneers have to watch out here too, because that division, it seems like when these teams play each other, is probably the closest out of all of them, right? We know that these divisional matchups are pretty tight for the most part and stuff, but it could go anybody's way in this freaking NFC South. And we just saw it with the
Yeah,
Saints. Saints played hard. And let me tell you right now, Tyler Shuck looks like he's their guy for the quarterback position right now. He's making some good plays, especially with his legs. And it's early. Again, he's got some growing pains too as well. He's not made outstanding stuff, but you could see kind of something there for themselves and for the Saints. But to pull off a victory here against the Bucks, who right now, again, they've got the Panthers nipping at their heels. And the last 3 weeks of their season, they've got to play the Falcons. Luckily, they'll be home for that one, but they play the Panthers twice. So implications in both of those games to where the Panthers are really high right there, right, nipping on their heels to
they could
try
play
and get
spoiler.
into this one. So they could play spoiler, or if they lose both of those, then maybe I am wrong. And somehow, the Panthers can jump into this bracket. But so this last couple of weeks for them, the Buccaneers cannot lay the foot off the gas here. They have to take care of business on teams they really should beat.
Should win.
And it
Right.
should be interesting too, or on December 28th, where they do play the Dolphins, where the Dolphins have kind of been surging and playing better.
Mhm.
It's just too bad because now they've waited too long to get things together here and get things right there. So, but they are playing rough now and playing tough, but it is reliant on that running game, right? And we said about it with the Dolphins, get that running game going, and you'll have further success despite losing some of the people they have due to injury or trades. But the Buccaneers really need to take care of business in these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely, and they should, right? Like, you look at that team where they were in the middle of the season, injury riddled, big name starters, 2, count 'em, 2 off high end offensive linemen for them were down. Tristan Wirfs was missing the first half of the season, and then he ends up coming back in late. Gedeke, he got severely injured. Looked like almost it looked actually on the field, it looked like it was, season ending, and loo good luck for, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he was able to come back. Now he's back in the lineup, and now you're starting to see this receiving core get healthier. Mike Evans, I thought for sure was gonna be back this week, but they held him out another week, so most likely he'll be back this week. So you're getting your weapons back. The only unfortunate part of this team right now is the fact that Baker Mayfield is definitely playing hurt. There's no doubt about it. This guy is a tough
Yeah.
grinder of a quarterback. This dude is absolutely amazing. The stuff that he fights through reminds me a lot of Matt Stafford in a sense. Stafford,
Hmm.
we've seen him fight with like one arm basic or quarterback with one arm basically.
Yeah.
So, um Baker Mayfield has that tough mentality to him, and it shows. So Tampa Bay, even though it doesn't look that great right now, I feel like they should be able to finish strong, gain some momentum at the end of the season against these opponents that they should easily beat, and then you go into the playoffs and continue that momentum there.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, that covers pretty much everybody here. The Packers and the Rams. We said the Rams are pretty much they're locked in. They, I think, are getting the best team in the league right now. At least even on the
Well,
NFC side. Uh, and even though
they
they
look
did lose to the Panthers, I mean,
yeah,
yeah, we'll give them
that's
that.
what I'm
But
saying.
the Panthers, that's what I mean. They're that an anomaly. And I joked about it when that game was coming up. I'm like, well, they are at
Right.
home, so technically they should win because again, that's where they've been playing this year. They've been playing better at home, and then on away games are just kind of like a coin toss up in there. But still a good team. It all just depends on how Bryce Young plays, I guess, in the game.
It's
But the
not, and
Packers, mhm,
it's more about the whole team too. Bryce Young, yes,
yeah,
he does have to play more consistent for sure. But there's also struggles with the guys dropping the football as well at receiver, or for some reason the offensive line forgets how to block week to week. Like, it has to all come together. When it does, you see the product on the field for Carolina where it's like, oh, they can play. they were right there with the Rams. They were able to compete with one of the best teams in football this season. So you can see if they can get more consistent for next season, they could be a dangerous team.
Yeah, absolutely. But looking at the Packers schedule now, um, again, this could get crazy. This
All
absolutely
of it's
it
crazy,
is.
Jim.
Yeah,
It's all
because
crazy.
we talked about the Bears playing the Packers 2 weeks from now, and that could have implications there, absolutely, with each other and with the taking the division. But the Packers have to face the Broncos defense this coming week, then the Bears again, then the Ravens, who aren't exactly the Ravens of old, but
Yeah,
they're still kind of the Ravens.
right.
And then a Vikings team, finally week 4 or the last week of the season here, too. Seems like, maybe they can turn it around, but um, they're playing better at least this last week. But that for these next couple of weeks here, right in a row, the Bears and the Broncos back to back are gonna be some tough outs here for them. So they really gotta get things done here and lock it in come the end of this season here.
Definitely, and this is going to cement that division lead that they have right now. Only a
Mhm.
game above Chicago, but if they win against Chicago and they win, I'll say if they win 2 more games, I think they got it locked. I think they'll be fine. Um, but again, those are very tough matchups. Very tough. You got one of the
Yep.
best defenses in the Broncos that you're gonna have to overcome offensively. Jordan Love, you're gonna have to play your A game the rest of the
Mhm.
season. We gotta see Jordan Love not just more consistent, but he's gotta be on his A game. Like, you can't make mistakes, you can't turn the ball over. You need to be consistent. So let's see if he can do that with the next several weeks. But again, they are another team that's in flux. If they happen to lose one, especially if they lose to Chicago, that might just flip the script on everything. And then obviously they got those other couple of really tough matchups that they got to deal with. But Green Bay on the fence, nonetheless.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely, Joe. And again, not much to say about the Rams except for they're playing on all cylinders again. We know about the defense, right? They're playing good. Puka Nakua, when we talked about top 5 wide receivers or whatever, a
Hmm.
handful, and
Yeah,
again, I said he's probably number one in my book. We weren't ranking 1 through 5. We just put the
right.
mix together. These are the top.
Hmm.
But it is clear what he's doing in this league and playing. I mean, I get Jackson Smith and Jigba, what he's doing as well, too, but
Right.
some of the plays he made even this past weekend are crazy. And also interesting for the Rams is not only did you have Kyron Williams there, but it seems like Blake Corum is really getting more touches and really
More
putting
involved.
some things on too, more involved in that offense the last couple of weeks. So now as a whole, that makes it even scarier for this Rams team that can hit you with a Devontae Adams, a Puka Nakua, and then also the tight ends. But not only that, just the 2 running back situation. Plus, they've got a good defense and a Hall of Fame quarterback. So they've got it all right now for them.
Yeah, but you know what, Jim? I gotta say, I'm little disappointed in the way the Rams have been playing lately. Defensively giving up way too many yards. That's not going to be necessarily what you want to see in the playoffs. I do like what Stafford's been able to do. He's having a freaking MVP year.
Mm-hmm.
He's fourth in passing yards. He's got a great completion percentage. I think he's first in the league right now. And then you look at just the way he handles any given situation. I mean, the guy has ice in his veins. I get it. He has weapons to throw to. He has Devontae Adams, obviously Puka Nakua, um, and you got that running game, and it's all well and good, but he still is playing so good at his age. Like, I'm sorry, it's almost like he's playing like he's 25 again. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, you gotta like what you see with the Rams right now. But they definitely gotta iron out some wrinkles as they gotta get some momentum somehow before the playoffs do get here, so that way they can take that and s- remain running on all cylinders and kind of basically just being able to be like the best seed and get that bye. So, uh, but yeah, I like what I see from the Rams. Absolutely. Um, I would like to see the defense start to make some uh, more impressive plays. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they were great pretty much all season, And then like it almost seems like as we're getting, in the latter stages of the season, it's almost they're not really letting up. It just seems like they're giving up more than they should.
All right, let's move on to the AFC side, where I think is more intriguing. Where I mean, that's where we are looking at teams like the Colts, who started off red hot, but then kind of has gotten colder and colder. But now Daniel Jones injured, and now out for the season with an Achilles injury, so that
Mhm.
dampens their hopes of anything. But the Chiefs, right? That's the story. 11% chance of making the playoffs. The Ravens sitting there on the outside looking in at 6-7, 33% chance of making it to the playoffs. And both teams not looking like the teams of old, the teams that
No.
were dominating offenses, tough defense, something that, especially with the Ravens side, with the Chiefs expected to take a little bit of a downtick, they were primed to be that upcoming team here to kind of just solidify themselves. Hey, the Chiefs are kind of on the way. Nobody really fears them. We just got to contend with the Buffalo Bills, right? But even they're having their issues, right? So the Chiefs in a tight game that they needed to win at home, which I thought they were going to win this game when they could have. They could have. What happened to Harrison Butker, by the way, too? When did he stop, figuring out how to kick? He's missed so many kicks this year. I can't believe it. He used to be money every single time. And he's just missed a bunch this season.
It
And
happens to the best of those
the
kickers,
Chiefs
right?
not getting the luck of the draw with the referees, because I will say, and I'm not on the Chiefs side, but they were getting a lot of penalties called against them in this past game, which I thought was compelling. And injuries on that offensive line were telling in this game as well, and still avoiding the run game. Just did not run at all.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: as far as the referees go, how does it feel, Kansas City, when you got all those penalties mounted up against you, and whether they're legit or not? I mean, this is the type of thing that other teams were complaining about, and it almost seems like now that Kansas City is not the golden child of the NFL anymore this year, it seems like now the NFL's like, oh, you know what? Screw those guys. It just something weird about it, right? Like, it just
Mhm.
seems like now that the tide has changed and the NFL's like, we don't really need to help these guys anymore. They're on their way out anyway. So, but again, we're that's part of the NFL anyway. Like some teams, you get screwed in some games, and the refereeing is so terrible that it's just like, well, we could point the blame at them, but nothing's going to change. So here we are, Kansas City, 6-7 on the verge of being knocked out of the playoffs, and it could happen this week. If they lose one more game, and then they are done. There's just no way around it. Uh,
Mhm.
they could be eliminated if the Chargers beat the Chiefs. So, and that's the other thing too. This team has not played very well. It's not the same Chiefs team, even though it's pretty much got the same personnel. They got
Mhm.
Juju back this year. Rashee Rice. It took him some time to come back to the roster, to the lineup. Obviously Pacheco got hurt, but now he's back. So it's like there's no more excuses. Like you got your number one receiver in Rashee Rice. Guess what happened? Not much changed. Like I don't think it's a coaching problem. I think it's a player execution problem. I think we've seen the worst of Patrick Mahomes this year, and it's reflected on the offense. He's missed opportunities. He's overthrown guys. He's
Mhm.
underthrown it before. He's been a little bit more inaccurate this season in particular, to the point where like it stalls drives, and then it's all on the defense, right? Then the Chiefs defense has to somehow, some way get the ball back for them. This is not the way the Chiefs normally win. They normally take the lead early, keep the lead all throughout the game, and then make a wider, point margin and decimate a team. So, uh, very different team. It's not the same. And honestly, this could very well be the year where we don't see Kansas City at all in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's tough, and you could see it, and you could see it on their faces, right? I don't think I've ever seen Travis Kelce on the sideline look the way he did. Didn't he look completely destroyed, like diminished? Like he's looking at his
It's like
hands, like
someone shot his dog.
Yeah, he was.
Like,
He looked so down in the dumps, like they had already. Like that was it. He gave up after that. Like he's like, we're done.
and I
It just hit him there. It just hit him
yeah,
there. It was just crazy. And he's done. He's done. You know what I mean? That's just it. I think he was just seeing it all come to fruition here. It's
yeah,
just his career flashing in front of his eyes. Clear catches that he normally would have made that he just
right,
dropped. When Mahomes needed him as his dump off, there he is, and he didn't pay off. And that's the
and
problem too.
right,
Key moments to where Mahomes, that's his traditional dump off guy to make it
mhm,
happen and move it.
mhm.
He wasn't there for him. And that's the one thing I will say about Patrick Mahomes this year. It's not that he isn't trying and he's getting to some of these guys. He just can't rely on anybody. They're unreliable. Not and even Travis Kelce this year.
Travis Kelce, I will say this: could this be it for him? Could he be retiring after this
Oh,
season?
absolutely.
Because
Mhm.
it's contract year. You
Yes.
know, like last year, everyone was wondering in the offseason, is he going to retire now? Is he coming back for one more run? And he came back, but now, like maybe Jim, that was part of that emotion.
Mhm.
Maybe he was like,
Absolutely.
"Oh, my last year in the league. I've been thinking about retirement." Like there's no doubt about it. He was definitely thinking about retiring last season,
Mhm.
but saw that they had the team, they had still the same kind of players that he could come back and maybe they make that run. But now, after last week, when the Chiefs lost, and they knew they lost, right? Right? Like that's why you saw him sitting the way he was, having that emotion on his face like he was. Could he be thinking right now, like, you know what? It might not be worth it. I'm not gonna even attempt to come back. It might be time to retire.
Yeah, and I think that was what you saw right there. It was flat out, that's what it is. It's over. I'm done this way. This is how it's going down. And it's sad, but you can see it. They're defeated, and they've got a tough road ahead of them. They've got some good matchups. But they've got the Chargers this coming week. Titans, that I still think they can easily beat them. Titans were surprised me
Yeah,
this last week with a play there.
right.
But they've got the tough Denver Broncos too, the face here in that defense here. But
You've
by
got
that time, if the Denver Broncos can win here, I think they can even lock
right.
it up this week. So
You got
they might
yeah.
even rest their starters at this point. They're
You
like, hey,
have
we'll rest the starters against the Chiefs,
you have 2 divisional opponents left that are
right?
both above you right now in the division. So
Mhm.
they're both really good teams. You got to somehow overcome those odds, and that's not to really necessarily get in the playoffs. That's just to have a shot.
Mhm.
So obviously, even if the Chiefs are eliminated, right? Whether it be the Chargers knock them out, the Broncos, or both of them, right? They're going to be licking their chops for last game to play the Raiders. I'll tell you this
Mm.
right now. They're going to make it a,
Oh yeah.
a statement on the Raiders. They hate them so much. So, but that being said, Kansas City right now on the outside looking in, and it doesn't look good for them. Maybe they can overcome the odds, but it seems like the odds are stacked against them this
Well,
season.
this year's tough because again, the way it is, and everybody how good they are. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think 10-7 and the Chiefs being where they are, which I think they can be. I think they can win these next four. I don't think they will, but I think they definitely can.
I
I don't
think they
think
win
10 and
2 out of the
7.
4.
Yeah, I don't think 10-7 is going to get them in it either way if they win these next 10.
Yeah. I think they
Just
get 2 out of
because.
4 anyway. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. All right, and now let's bring up the Ravens here, right? The Ravens,
Oh
Lamar
boy.
Jackson, he's running a little bit still, but he still doesn't look the same, man.
No.
He really doesn't. And this
No.
defense is even not playing like they should be too. Derrick Henry not getting the ball enough either. Like this team just doesn't look right to me. And I will say this though, in that last game, I think some of the calls were questionable against the
Yeah.
Ravens too as well. But
Mhm.
I still don't give that an excuse for why they lost the game.
No.
I
And,
think
and
they
you're
easily could have won that game.
Lamar Jackson. Come on, dude. Like we've seen glimpses of your running ability, but just not enough. Like you're not threatening defenses.
Mhm.
And even when it seems like you're going to take off out of the pocket, you stop and then try to make a throw. Zay Flowers, I'm sorry. Zay Flowers this year has been disappointing because when he's given the opportunity and Lamar does get the ball to him, he drops the ball. Like he doesn't have the most consistent hands this season. I don't know what's going on with him either. Is it because of lack of opportunity? Maybe, because that sometimes that happens with receivers. If they're not involved in the game plan, and then all of a sudden you get a couple passes thrown to you, you know, sometimes you lose focus and then you drop the ball. But still, like this offense looks like a shell of itself. I mean, I'm sorry. Like I don't see the creative RPOs like they once utilized with Derrick Henry in the backfield. Um, and also utilizing their tight ends. Isaiah Likely, for the
Yeah,
first time in a
right.
while, I noticed that he got more involved in the game plan and he was deadly.
Mhm.
Keep using it. Don't stop. Everybody's worried about Mark Andrews, but guess what? They forget about Isaiah Likely, and that's where those big catches came up for them. You know, Derrick Henry was almost a non-factor in that whole entire game.
Mhm.
I don't know. I've never seen a Ravens offense this lost. Like it almost seems like they don't even know their own identity anymore. And Lamar Jackson is completely confused as a quarterback. I know he's trying to consistently show people like, "Oh, I can still throw in the pocket." But that's not your game. That's not how you guys win. So this is a team that is in grave danger of missing the playoffs. They had a great opportunity facing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tied up
Mhm.
with them, could have taken the division lead. Instead, they fell on their face. It is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it, Joe. Lamar Jackson, since coming back from injury, hasn't looked the same. Just count down week 10 through 14. Week 10, he was 18 for 23, zero INTs. I get that, but 14 rushing yards on 5 carries. Week 11, 87 passer rating, 17 for 29, 36 rushing yards on 9 carries. That was like a good day for him lately, which we know he's got to be a more balanced guy. He's got to give you 100 and 300. That's Lamar Jackson. That's MVP Lamar. That's who he is. That makes him special, right?
Mhm.
And only one passing touchdown in that game against Minnesota, by the way, too, who hasn't looked very good.
Right.
And then in Cleveland, 0 touchdowns, 2 INTs, 193 yards passing, 14 for 25, 47 passer rating, 10 rushing yards on 4 carries. Against Cincinnati, a bad defense, 246 passing yards. I get that. And only 7 yards per pass, though. Like, where are you beating the people on that deep threat to some of these guys? You got DeAndre Hopkins again, just wasting away back there too. Like you said, Zay Flowers making some plays, but again, topsy turvy, can catch it, sometimes he can't. And now against Pittsburgh, 219 passing yards, 6 per average per pass, and not running that often either. And we've said to have success with this team and the Ravens, Lamar needs to be Lamar, and he hasn't been. And this road to the playoffs, these last couple of weeks, is not easy for them. Cincinnati, since Joe Burrow came back, that's not a tough out. Yes, their defense sucks. They'll still give up 30, 40 points possibly. But I really don't think the Ravens are going to put up 40 points against the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow almost single-handedly beat the Buffalo Bills in terrible weather in Buffalo, except for the couple of pass tips. They end up being interceptions, fluke plays. But after the Bengals, they've got the Patriots, the Packers, and then the Steelers again last week. It is not an easy road for the Ravens, and we might have seen just basically the end in that last loss against the Steelers of the Ravens making any kind of push towards the playoffs here.
Yeah, I think they're going to end up either losing 2 out of the 3 or all 3. I mean, and it's one of these things where like, and not for nothing, but like, kudos to the Bengals defense. I mean, they have been playing definitely way better than when you look back to the beginning of the year. They're definitely starting to gel. Good for them. But the Ravens, this is a huge disappointment to all Ravens fans. I know the hype was high on them before week 1 got here. Like, we even thought, like, "Oh, it's gonna be the same old Ravens. They're gonna have a great defense. They're gonna have an offense that's tough to stop. They're gonna run the clock out, score points, and that's how they're gonna win." And lately, it's not the same. It's just not working out the same. The offense doesn't look anything like it used to. And then the defense is even struggling on top of that. So, man, I, I don't like what I see from the Ravens. I don't. And honestly, like I do believe that after losing to Pittsburgh, they lost all that momentum that they had built up. And I think now that they're going to be missing the playoffs.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to the Colts. Again, they're one of those teams that they started off hot. I think Daniel Jones is a good spot for them, to be their starter. Yes, they drafted Riley Leonard and he's getting a chance to play. I know there's been talks about getting Phillip Rivers to come back to maybe try and make a playoff run for them, but I don't think that's a good idea. Getting him off the couch to try and make this, because it's going to be a rough route either way. It's going to be tough. Phillip Rivers wasn't playing the best when he was in the league the last couple of years for them. That's why they were looking for quarterbacks. That's why you have Daniel Jones there. That's why you have Anthony Richardson there. I think it's just done. You just got to admit it when it's over. Your quarterback went down. He already had the fibula injury. Now he's got an Achilles injury. He's done. He knew it. He's slamming the helmet down. And now I think you just got to see what Leonard has. See what you have in that quarterback. See what you can do moving forward with him. See what he brings, so that potentially if Daniel Jones is just your bridge quarterback at this point and you've got this kid here and you can move on from Anthony Richardson, something. But that's where I think just you are right now, because if you look at the Colts remaining schedule, they've got the Seahawks, then the 49ers, then the Jags again, and then you've got the Texans. Two divisional rivals here to where they're whooping right now, especially the Jags the way they are right now. And you've got the tough defense of the 49ers and the Seahawks right here. So it is a long uphill run for them. And I don't think Phillip Rivers is the answer for the Colts.
The fat lady might have just sung for the Colts, because here's the thing, Jim. Riley is out. He's got injured last game. He's not coming back. He's probably done for the season. So they had to turn somewhere. And obviously, Anthony Richardson, everyone's like, oh, well, they're going to just put Anthony Richardson, activate him, bring him back, and everything's copacetic, right? No. They have made the decision to not even bring Anthony Richardson back. That tells you everything you need to know about his future in Indianapolis. He's done. They've made that decision. They're not even going to bring him back for a potential playoff run. And so they turn their sights to Phillip Rivers, who's 44 years old, who hasn't played football in quite some time. And he's coming off the couch, much like Joe Flacco. And they're hoping for the same kind of success story where Phillip Rivers comes back, they make a playoff run, and who knows how far they can go with him. But here's the thing, is I understand why they targeted Phillip Rivers in the first place, because he used to be in Indianapolis. Before he retired, he did quarterback for the Colts. So there's some familiarity there to where they're like, hey, you know what? Last ditch effort. Let's bring in Phillip Rivers. He just has to game manage. We're not going to ask everything out of him. Kind of like Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones played at a much higher level, but he wasn't the guy that had to make all the plays.
Yeah.
So they're hoping that Phillip Rivers coming in, managing the game. They did sign him today, by the way. So he's going to be in the lineup. He's going to learn as much of the offense as he can. He's going to go out there, give it his all, and who knows with the Colts, but I got to say, it doesn't look good.
No, absolutely not. Like you said, you just might have to just admit when it's over, right? It was a good run on next year.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a Colts team that none of us thought that this Colts team with Daniel Jones coming in, nobody thought that this team was going to be as good as they were. 8-5 right now. Yeah, they have a shot, but man, it's very slim.
Yeah, absolutely. And then meanwhile, in that same division, the Texans, who are coming on strong, feeding off that defense. CJ Stroud just has to play clean ball, which I think he's been able to do here. A couple of misreads in this last game, but again, I think he has enough to make a good push with this team and what they're doing. If you look at the next remaining games too, all winnable. You've got the Cardinals, who, again, Brissett, he's not even your bridge quarterback at this point, even too. I think they just need to move on and go fresh all together there in Arizona. The Vegas Raiders, who don't have a quarterback, and they're a bad team. The Chargers, who, how healthy is Justin Herbert going to be at that point too in 3 weeks from now? And the Indianapolis Colts now. So the last game of their season. So very easy to get, I would say, 3 wins out of that one for the Texans, especially with the elite level that the defense is playing at. And you won't have Kansas City to face anymore. So you don't have to worry about all those ridiculous flags that were thrown against them like last season in the playoffs. So moving forward, I think the Texans coming in at, I would say not the 7th seed, but if they could sneak into that 6th seed area, that could be very scary.
And they could move up farther.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are only a game away from the Jacksonville Jaguars to
Mhm.
take over that division. So
Mhm.
sky's the limit for Houston, because if
Mhm.
the Jaguars happen to lose a game, leaving the door cracked open, and the Texans are able to capitalize on the next few games, they could be sitting pretty in the division, bettering their seeding and playoff hopes. So the Texans is interesting to me. This is a team that is getting hot at the right time in the season,
Mhm.
right towards the end. They have one of the best, if not the best, statistical defense right now in the NFL. They are playing out of their minds against any opponent that they go up against. And it was all about the offense. From the beginning of the season, how much they struggled. And obviously they went through some like injuries throughout the season and whatnot. Nick Collins missing some time. But now what you're seeing with this offense is Woody Marks, a rookie running back,
Mhm.
teaming up with Nick Chubb, really kind of forming a nice 1-2
Yeah.
punch in that backfield. The offensive line starting to gel together, starting to play much better football, you know, keeping a pocket, for CJ Stroud longer than what they were before,
Mhm.
opening up
Yeah.
rushing lanes more than they were before. And then also you're getting some help from a rookie wide receiver by the name of Jaden Higgins, who's playing opposite Nico Collins. So even though it was basically like the Nico Collins show this past week, but I gotta say, everything is working out for them right now at the perfect time, and they are playing very well. Stroud now 100% healthy. You can see the difference in that offense. I gotta tell you, this is one of the hottest teams going down the stretch. If they're able to finish off and win the last remaining games, they could be sitting pretty with the division win and or lead, and we'll see what happens with the Jaguars at that point.
Oh, definitely. Because I mean, if you're looking at the Texans, like I said, they're scary right now. I have more trust in CJ Stroud and that defense to push further than I do with Bo Nix and their defense moving forward, especially with the defense of the Broncos. And I know Patrick Surtain's one of the best in the league and stuff, but they've had pass interference called multiple times this year. Like they're near the top. I don't know exactly the ranking, but I know it was even said on the broadcast, one of the most called defenses for pass interference. And a lot of it is Patrick Surtain. But I think the Texans are one of those scary teams getting hot right at the right spot. Defense wins championships. They're playing at an elite level, and you've got a quarterback that's more than a game manager, and it's young, who can really make some plays with that double-headed running attack. So watch out for the Texans. Absolutely. Then that brings us to the Bills, right? The Bills, who were the league's darlings. Everybody said this is their year, right? Here they are.
Right.
And they're not even winning their division. It's the
No.
Patriots. And again, they almost coughed another one up at home to where the weather was there. I was like, this is it. This is the chance that they have to win this, to do it. You're playing a defense of the Bengals who give up, ridiculous amounts of points, 40 plus points every year or every week. This is the time, but just run the ball efficiently because it's going to be that type of a game. And they started a little bit, but not enough. And to where, again, you're looking at, Josh Allen having to make the plays for them. If Josh Allen is not Josh Allen, they're not going to win. And those interceptions that the defense got, yes, I mean, I get it. He's even jumping to try to make a deflection or whatever, stuff like that. But it's not the real reason they even won that game. I mean, give me a break. I mean, it's luck that you were able to get, Joe Burrow in those positions here. So they're lucky to come out of there with a win. But, I mean, they've got a bit of a road ahead of them, too, because they've got to play the Patriots this week. So that's big to try and make up a game on them this week. Then the Browns defense isn't exactly terrible. The team is altogether. But even with Shedeur Sanders right now, they're
giving him a
making some
spark.
plays. They're giving them that little bit of a spark.
Mhm.
And then the Eagles. 3 weeks from now, and then finally finishing off with the New York Jets, who seems like they're kind of playing better, but I don't expect them to beat the Bills, but
No,
the Bills got to kind of take care of business, and it's going to be a rough. They kind of put themselves in a bit of a hole here.
they definitely have, and we kind of foresaw this, Jim, early in the season before the season even started. We complained about how the lack of a playmaking wide receiver wasn't on the roster. That we talked about how before the trade deadline, they didn't pull off any trades to add to that weaponry. They just don't have a playmaking guy to go to. I get it. Khalil Shakir is a very good receiver for them, yes, but he's a slot receiver. He's a move the chains type of guy. And although there are from time to time he makes an explosive play, it's just not enough because Josh Allen, he's the only go-to guy that he has that he can rely on. Keon Coleman is a flash in the pan. They missed on that draft pick. It's point blank and period. They need to move Keon Coleman to the slot, maybe even put Khalil Shakir on the outside, do something different. But the fact that they didn't make any moves before trade deadline to further impact this offense and make it better, and now all the pressure's on Josh Allen. Why is it still all on Josh Allen? James Cook fumbled twice in this past game. Twice he fumbled. He lost a critical fumble. And honestly, this team, unless Josh Allen plays out of his mind, isn't going to get the wins. It's not happening. I'm sorry, Buffalo fans, but the truth is the truth. And your defense, sometimes it plays great. Most of the time it doesn't. Even though you have some talent on that side of the ball, it's disappointing to watch. I have a hard time watching Buffalo unless Josh Allen is having a freak game because he's the most exciting thing happening in Buffalo.
Yeah. I mean, not only did he take over the city and say, "Hey, we've put all that whole city, it's part of him," but it is literally the town, the city, the team. Like it's just they might as well just change the name of Buffalo just to Josh Allen Town, right? Because it's everything. He is everything, right? That commercial for driving. What do you think about that? Is everything? Yeah, that's what it is. But this is what you were talking about, and a Sean McDermott led team, and your defense isn't very good, right? That's the weakest spot of your team, ranking around 30th in yards per attempt, and terrible. And on rush defense, you know what I mean? Passing defense still not very good either. Turnovers, you name it. Like you said, if Josh Allen's not being spectacular, they're not going places.
Is it time for Sean McDermott to get fired?
And it's tough. It could be. We could
He's
be
had a
talking
lot of
hot
time
weeks
there.
pretty soon.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Had a lot of time, had years to turn. And if he didn't have Josh Allen, he would have already been fired because this team wouldn't have won games. Like
absolutely.
With his leadership, I'm sorry, but you're not getting over the hump. He got the team to be a contender for playoffs for numerous years, but we're just you're not getting over the hump. You're not even being able to make it to the Super Bowl.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Maybe time is up on him.
Yeah, you had that window where the Patriots weren't good, and now look at they've got Vrabel, and here they are.
Caught up.
They caught up already.
Quick.
Yep. All right, so yeah, it's gonna be a tough road. Like I said, I mentioned some of the teams they have to face. It's gonna be rough here for Buffalo. But again, I still think they're gonna be in the playoffs, but seeding's gonna be up and down. But how dangerous could that be, with the Buffalo Bills if they're in kind of a middle seed? But if they're towards the end, I mean, Bills against we'll say even the Patriots again. Yeah. But even if they face the Broncos, I don't know if they come out of there with that win, because it's going to be tough against that defense.
Absolutely. Right now, they're wild card.
Yeah.
So they are on the edge of being
on the edge
already. So,
all right. So that brings us to the Chargers again. And this is an interesting team. It's like, I look at the Chargers and I'm like, how are they 9-4? Like, right? Right. I mean, I don't know. Is it just me? I mean, because I'm looking at them and I'm like, how are they 9-4? Because nothing about the Chargers really jumps off the page for me, right? Vidal has been a nice, running back to have while Marion Hampton's been injured, but now he's been back for a couple of weeks here, but now kind of last week it seemed like he was playing a little better. And we talk about them bringing in Keenan Allen as a veteran wide receiver to help out Live McConkey get a little bit more open and things like that, because they had some other wide receivers leave and not have that wide receiver talent there. Defense has been playing really good again, and you saw it last week or last night with how they kind of stepped up. They knew Justin Herbert was injured, and they felt like they had to put this game on their shoulders. And they did. I think they played their lights out hard for him to try and make this as easy as he could here, because basically the way the Eagles were playing, they were losing this game easy, turnover after turnover, and that defense making big plays. Just Justin Herbert with one hand. Well, what can you do? Like, I got a question again with the head coaching and Jim Harbaugh on this one too. I understand it's a tough game and the Chargers need to keep kind of winning, but an Eagles game where it was going to be tough, you got that defense coming after you. You got a surgery on this hand that just happened. Like, you've got metal bolts and plates in this hand, and he's holding it literally like this, not even to secure a football really, and running and trying to run and keep it stiff. Like, that is so uncomfortable. And if you're trying to make a deep run into playoffs, you're throwing your banged up one-handed quarterback out there right now to get killed. I don't like that situation right now.
No, I mean, you don't have a healthy offensive line. We talked about it.
No, that too.
About how, like, you just don't. You have a shell of an offense. You got a bunch of backups starting right now.
Right.
And even though they've done a really good job in terms of the running game, sometimes they struggle in the passing game. And it shows where Herbert has to run the ball. He has to break the pocket and take off. We saw that numerous times against the Eagles, and that he just does whatever needs to be done, honestly. And he'll distribute the football. He is a tough quarterback. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's grinding it out and is there for his teammates and trying to get over the hump, lock in the playoffs. Can they do damage? Sure, but I just don't know how far they can actually go, even if they make the playoffs, because of the lack of offensive line, because they got weapons. That's nice to have. But if you don't have protection and you don't have time to throw the ball, we're seeing a very different offense now from the Chargers. This is not the balanced offense like it was. Yes, they still try to run the ball. Sometimes, some snaps they have success, sometimes they don't. And then when they're behind the 8 ball, it's hard for them to get to the first down. So this is a team, like you mentioned, Jim, Chargers defense played out of their minds. They played great football, and we got to give kudos to where it belongs. Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, honestly is one of the best young, bright minds in the NFL. And I could really see him this offseason get some head coaching nods, interviews anyway, to maybe pull him away from the Chargers, because the guy's been, in 2 years, this guy he's changed this offense completely around into his vision, and they are playing at a high level.
Yeah, luckily for them, they did scratch out of there with a win in the overtime. I mean, that was a crazy overtime to watch too, and another turnover seals the deal at the end of it, where it looked like the Eagles were going to come down and win.
Right.
But I mean, it's tough because for me, again, I'm thinking maybe he could take the week off and we could survive, because this next long road for them, this is either one of the teams that's going to go to the last seed, or like you said, they could find themselves on the outside looking in, and potentially now the Ravens do have a shot, or the Chiefs might have this one shot. If they win out, this is the team they're probably replacing, because they've got the Chiefs this week, then the Cowboys next week, then the week after that, the Texans, and then the Broncos after that. So,
that's a tough
not
one.
any easy outs at all. And you've got a banged up quarterback, banged up offensive line, who's a bunch of different names. Now they got Trevor Penning in there. The defense is playing tough, but you're going to bend till you break probably, right? So Justin Herbert, you got to really ice that bad boy right now after that game and everything. You got a bit of a rest here, because it's going to be tough. That Chiefs at home, in the Kingdom is going to be tough. Cowboys at home. Luckily, they've got, the Texans, in LA, but, that's a wash. And then the Broncos game is going to be in Denver. And lately, that stadium's been rocking too. It's been tough to win there. So it's a tough road for the Chargers. So out of any of the teams too, to get bounced out of here, they're probably my most likely team to get bounced out of the playoffs.
I mean, it's possible, that's for sure. That's a very tough ending of a schedule that to have to go through. They'll
Hmm.
probably be able to pull off a couple wins, and maybe that
Hmm.
might be enough to kind of cement them in the playoffs. But again, very tough hill to climb against every opponent.
Right, right. And then the Steelers again now pulling off that victory, late here
Against the
in that
Ravens.
game against the Ravens. Luckily again, got not getting the Ravens how the Ravens normally are. You got this team back and forth week to week, looks like a different team. One team they look washed up, one game they look washed
Right.
up, old, not playing very well. Mike Tomlin doesn't look like he's know what he's doing, just kind of watching the game as it plays, like, oh, did it
And
happen, you know?
I mean, I have to ask a question here. Like with all this talk before the Ravens game, right? I feel like if the Ravens won that game, it wouldn't be just playoff implication. It would also be Mike Tomlin
Mm.
implication. Is it time to move on from him? Because there's been a lot of chatter. We've talked about it on the show about is it time to move on from Tomlin? It seems like this guy keeps the team competitive but can never make a major push in the playoffs, even when they make it. So I I, I don't know, man. This Steelers team, you're right, Jim. They're off and on. Sometimes they look great. Sometimes they look average at best. Is it going to be enough, even if they are able to pull off and win this division? Is it going to be enough in the playoffs to play the way they've been playing up and down every week in the playoffs? Like it's one of those things, man. Like what's the measuring stick for Mike Tomlin? Is it if he makes the playoffs, he's good, or is it if he makes the playoffs and loses in the first game that he's not good? Like this is a guy who's been pretty consistent on winning for the most part for the Steelers. Pretty consistent on this Steelers team, never ending last in this division while he's been coaching.
Mhm.
So, what's the measuring stick for this whole situation? Not just the Steelers' playoff hopes, but also Tomlin himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And then looking further the next couple of weeks for them, they've got, the Dolphins Monday Night Football coming up. Then they go to Detroit to play the Lions at home, and that one's going to be a tough one. Then they've got the Browns, which that's not an easy out either, too. These divisional matchups here. That defense, I feel, at the dog pound is going to play really tough here.
Shador, baby.
And yeah, Shador Sanders, who knows? Yeah, you've got Shador this time. They didn't see Shador last time when they
Right.
played. And then the Ravens here, final game of the season, like you said too. This game might have absolute implications
Hmm.
on who is in or out at this point to take this division. The way if they keep trading blows, they're not
Right.
going to have a record good enough to make a wild card team. They need to win the division, and
True.
that's where they are. That's even why the Steelers are even in it right now,
Mhm.
sitting there at what 7-6 right
Seven
now.
and six, man.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the weaker teams where you're just a head scratcher right now. So um moving forward, it can be tough. This is probably the last hurrah for Mike Tomlin, right? If
Could
he
be.
does make this push, because again, you don't have Aaron Rodgers after this, right?
Well,
So
that's the
what are you going to
questionable
do?
thing is that Rodgers himself said that he could see himself come back and play next
Oh
year.
Jesus,
So,
he could,
but
but
to be
I've
fair, it's only because they are winning and because they have a chance to make the playoffs. If this season went the other way, where they just weren't going to make the playoffs, and despite Rodgers and what he's able to accomplish, then maybe Rodgers hangs it up and says, "I'm all done." But because they are in this playoff run, because there's a lot of confidence now in that locker room that Rodgers like, you know what? Maybe I'll come back again. Give it one more go. So we'll see how that all kind of unfolds.
Yeah, for me, I think it's wild that Tomlin or Aaron Rodgers, I've never seen him look so much to the sideline than I have this season. Have you noticed that? Like he
Yeah,
sometimes does and looks at it. He seems like after every play, looks to the sideline, says like something or kind of like a smirk,
yeah,
like, "Oh, look at these
yeah.
fucking guys, or this and this. And I'm like, well, or this and that. And like looking for approval or just kind of even like, I don't know. It
Look
just
what I
seems
did.
like, yeah, like look what I did sometimes like this, just always looking over like
I got
for
you, coach.
acceptance or something like that. It is very odd. I've never seen any other quarterback really do that, right?
He loves
Yeah, it's
attention,
it's very strange. After every play, he's got some kind of facial expression,
and he
has to
loves that
say
you're giving
something.
him attention, Jim.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, he knows it. He knows it. He loves me. All right, we got Mr. William Del Pilar in the house with us tonight. He says it's time to move on unless they go deep. Tomlin has a second half swoon that goes back at least 5 years and has been one and done as well. He won with Cowers players in front office, but hasn't been to the top of his own players in front office. That's the measuring stick.
Very
What's
true.
he done with his own players? Yeah, we talked about this too a couple weeks ago. Having a defensive mind, and I think we even talked about with Broderick too. Having a defensive minded head coach is cool and everything too, as long as you have the right coordinators and things. And
Right.
some people have looked at some of their quarters, but he hasn't had really great coordinators there too. Right, that they've actually moved on from a bunch of different ones that didn't work out with Ben Roethlisberger, and certainly weren't going to work out with Aaron Rodgers, and that's why Arthur Smith was the guy, right? But even now, Aaron Rodgers saying, "Oh, yeah, you're supposed to go this way," and he went that way. I don't know. They were in the same room that we are, and I don't know why I saw it. He didn't see it. You know what I mean? What the hell? And we've seen he can't handle some players. It seems like he does to an extent where you're keeping it under wraps, like the George Pickens things, and further on with it, AB, Antonio Brown. But look at what Pickens is doing for the Cowboys now. We weren't getting that in the Steelers area too. So if you can settle him down and still get the same production and still temper the attitude or whatever and still get production, that's fine. But it seemed like I can't deal with this guy. He's got to go. AB, I can't deal with this guy. He's got to go.
Well, what you notice is the fact that, like, you put George Pickens back with the Steelers, they didn't have a quarterback to get him the ball. And I'm going to be honest with you, they didn't have any other receivers besides him. So every game plan for the defense was double team George Pickens. We don't worry about the other guys. We'll just double team George Pickens. Take him out of the game. So it's like, they didn't have the quarterback, the right quarterback at the time to throw him the ball. And then on top of that, defenses were always locking him up. Not to say he can't get open, but I'm just saying, like, they were making it a game plan every single week. Like, he's the most dangerous offensive weapon. We're going to take him out, kind of like a Bill Belichick move. And that was that. So, like, yeah, there were struggles with him there. And now that he's gone, he's went to a better offense, a guy who can get him the football, and the rest is history. But the Steelers,
and has CeeDee Lamb on the other side.
This is one of those things with the Steelers that, again, William Del Pilar might be right. Maybe it is time to hang him up. Maybe it's time to make a change. I know the Steelers typically do not change coaches unless they absolutely have to, but this might be one that you want to make a change. Maybe that's what you need. You need a little bit of a shakeup here. You need a different philosophy, or a different way to do things. Maybe you need to hire an offensive-minded coach. Because whether you stay with Rodgers or you move on from him, whatever the end result is, you're going to have to draft a quarterback this year, at least next year. Like, you got to make that move to where you need to find the next future. When you find that next future quarterback, you need a good offensive-minded guy to help him develop and run the offense.
Yep, exactly. That's one thing they haven't found either. All right, so the Jags, the Patriots, and Broncos are left over. The Patriots, again, I think they're just playing great all the way around. I mean, they're sitting pretty. There's nothing shaky about them. They do play the Bills towards the end, but I think they're in a really good spot. And the Broncos as well. Again, like I said, they could cash it in this week. But intriguing team is the Jacksonville Jaguars, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Just kind of up and down throughout the season early on, but now they're on a winning streak. And Travis Hunter getting hurt, so we thought maybe even they're like, oh man, maybe they're even done now too, because they were trying to force him the ball, on offense, and then he was playing the defensive side on certain times. Etienne has been really good in the running game for them as well. And it's all basically in how Trevor Lawrence plays too. I feel like he's a better quarterback too, as if he spreads out the running game too, and he can rush a little bit and try to keep the sticks running that way. If it's not there, it's not there. Don't make the bonehead throw and just throw it anyways. Take off running a little bit with your legs and make some plays. But they've got a pretty next couple of games in the next coming weeks too as well.
Hold on 1 second. Has Trevor Lawrence now become the poor man's Lamar Jackson? Like he has to run to keep defenses on their heels, and then when they're not looking, he throws the ball and can complete the pass. Like, we've never seen Trevor Lawrence be able to take over a game just with passing. And I get it.
True.
Jacksonville's not a pass first offense. I understand all that. But when it comes time where, like, you need to come back from behind, win, or you're down by 2 scores, you need to carve away and get back into the hunt here, where you need to throw the ball more. He's never had that success. He's never been the guy where, put it all on me, I'll carry this offense and we'll get back in this game. And that's where he struggles, when the pressure is on him. So I just don't, this Jaguars team, I didn't have confidence in the beginning of the season. Even though they're 9-4, I continue to not have confidence in them just because of Trevor Lawrence, not the team. I like the defense. I like the couple of weapons now that they have at their disposal. Jacoby Myers in the trade, Brian Thomas Jr. now getting healthy. He's back out there again. So maybe we'll see something different from Trevor Lawrence down the stretch, but maybe not. And if that's the case, I feel like this team, if they get one hiccup, maybe even 2 hiccups for the rest of the season, Houston can leapfrog them and get that division win, putting Jaguars in jeopardy of possibly missing the playoffs in the end.
Yeah, I mean, and the key is, like you said, their defense. Their defense is getting takeaways. Early on in the season, they led the league with 13 takeaways in the first 4 games, upsetting the 49ers too as well, 26-21, and keeping teams to a lower average points allowed. I think they're on an average of just 18 points allowed per game in their hot start. It's cooled down a little bit, but now they're back in again. The defense forcing turnovers, and Trevor Lawrence not turning the ball over, efficiently running the ball, which has been efficient for them. But again, their schedule though plays out really easy for them too. Well, kind of, to the most part. They've got the Jets this coming week, which I think is a winnable game. But they do have the Denver Broncos again, and that would be kind of the litmus test of where they are, right? Two good defenses. How are the quarterbacks going to play? I'm not high on either of them, at this point, but how's this team going to go down? And the Indianapolis Colts, and then the Titans finally at the end. So both teams that are in the division. So they're in the driver's seat. They're making a run here, and they look good. But like for you, this AFC playoff spot, there's a lot of fuzziness to it, a lot of question marks. I don't trust the Jags exactly. I don't trust the Steelers. I don't trust the Chargers because they're so banged up. And the Bills, it's Josh Allen or nothing. That's why I'm saying the Texans here are just just jumping out at me like they're the contender to contend with the Patriots and the Broncos at this point, in my eyes. And they have a really legitimate shot.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be tough. Like that'll be one hell of a playoff game. Imagine that, Patriots versus Texans.
I just hope it's not nature. Like the first game, like that would be amazing. Have to come in and the knockout game, but yeah,
it would be pretty cool.
But again, absolutely.
I really think no matter how the playoffs shake up, at the end, I feel like it's going to be some amazing playoff football. It's going to set the stage for some really good games, and maybe even some surprise teams that end up making it, versus last year where it was kind of like the same general teams that we saw, the year prior. So I like what's happening right now. I like the fact that this is all going down to the end. It's going to make it way more entertaining. Can't wait for some of these big time matchups that are happening in the next couple of weeks. So I got to say, I'm excited for it.
Absolutely, Joe. We're going to be talking about Kevin Stefanski in a little bit, but before that, Joe, why don't you tell everybody too one more time where they can find more episodes like the Blindside Blitz here on Grumblings Media?
Real simple, guys. It's absolutely free. We are not going to charge you guys because we love you guys so much. Head over to YouTube for us at Grumblings Media. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Also, hit the thumbs up while you're there. It goes a long way to possibly letting other people see the show. And don't forget to tell a friend, and share the love.
All right. Yeah, we talked about a bunch of different injuries throughout the league, and we'll get that in a little bit. But I think one thing that was telling in one of the games here, the last couple of weeks, actually, too, is Kevin Stefanski and his play calling on when it's time to go for it, right? And time to win. Shedeur Sanders, like we talked about, whether we liked him or not, he's added a spark to this team. And you're looking for a conversion, and now you pick out the trick plays with Judkins running them and things, and just clear miscommunication. So I don't know how often you ran these plays, but when it's the time to win, this is who you trusted it all, and it looks terrible. It's a clown circus out there. So if this is your planning here, I don't know. Is this the last straw for Kevin Stefanski? I know they stuck behind him and saying that their plan moving forward, but his record isn't very good with this team right now.
It's not very good with this team, but it's also not very good with any quarterback that he's had underneath him. He's never once taken on Deshaun Watson. Go back to that big major trade they made. And they're like, oh, this is going to be it. We got our quarterback. We're moving forward. Did not play well at all. Obviously he was on a 2-year hiatus due to injuries and other court problems, but he couldn't turn him around. He couldn't, and he had a lot of talent, and then they move on from him, and they've had Joe Flacco there. They've had numerous quarterbacks all try out for the role, all fail under Kevin Stefanski. So if this guy can't develop a quarterback or even help a quarterback with play calling, then what good is he? That was the sole purpose of him having this job, was to turn the offense around, to be a team that can put points on the board. And when you look at this past week, all these negatives about Kevin Stefanski leading up to this moment where Cleveland having that spark from Shedeur doing what I think he threw for just over 360 passing yards. The guy was, you got to say it. Like, I didn't think this guy was going to be very special, and maybe he still isn't special yet, but he's given this offense a spark. He's making some difficult throws here and there. Is he still making mistakes? Yes, but he's a rookie. Let's give him a break. But then when it comes time to, you got nothing to lose. You're the Cleveland Browns. You're out of the playoffs. You got nothing to lose. Excuse me. But you can play spoiler. You can upset some teams. Maybe showing the fan base hey, yo, we got our guy. We can win with Shedeur. But instead, you go with some weird trick play. And yes, they practice all these plays in during the week and everything, so they get them ironed out. But game on the line, where's your quarterback? He's not on the field. Why? Why?
Right.
After Shedeur and what he was able to do in that game, why don't you put the ball in his hands and say, you know what? I trust you. Go make it happen. Didn't see that. So that shows me all right. And I know it's one play, and maybe this is a little harsh, but Kevin Stefanski, by not showing the confidence in Shedeur Sanders in that moment, you're showing me that you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to give you the axe. Maybe it's time to move on from you, because guess what, buddy? You haven't done anything for this offense. The last time this offense had any success, and it doesn't matter with the quarterback because they still can't seem to find one. Maybe they did find it with Shedeur. Maybe they didn't. But it was always the running game that bailed him out. It was always Nick Chubb that bailed him out when he was in Cleveland. So Stefanski's got to go at this point. It's time for a regime change. It's time to move on. It's time to get someone else in this damn organization to maybe turn this offense around.
Well said, Joe. I could have said it better myself. The passion. I love it, though. I love it. Absolutely. I'm glad you're on the same page with me on this one. I wasn't sure if I was going to get any pushback on this one. So, but you said it all. You took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated for the Browns fans out there.
Absolutely, because how can you defend them at this point?
Kind of like Sean McDermott, in a sense. Sean McDermott has had more success, obviously, but it's similar, right? Like in a different way. This guy loses more games than wins, but the
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
is like
right.
it's been years of you to of your ability to turn this offense around at least. Maybe not the whole team, but the defense is pretty good already. Still is pretty good. But your job being brought in there in Cleveland was to change the offense around, to make it a impactful offense to coincide with that good defense. And it's not happening.
Yeah, he's on the losing side of things at 42-50 as a head coach. You've had multiple quarterbacks in the house, including Baker Mayfield, who looking pretty good over there with a defensive-minded coach here
Worst
in
mistake
Tampa
ever.
Bay.
Worst decision ever was getting rid of Baker
Yes.
Mayfield.
Yep. Yep. Besides that, Case Keenum, Jacoby Brissett, I would give that a wash. But you had just Deshaun Watson there, and he looked terrible. Joe
Mhm.
Flacco, like you said, bringing him off the couch, he looked okay, but still not enough. You're
Right,
supposed to be the whisperer, right?
right.
Dorian Thompson Robinson, PJ Walker, and now Shedeur Sanders, not only counting Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett, all have played at least 1 point for the Browns, in a game. And that's what I mean. And the key right there is you had Baker Mayfield right after they just ran Freddie Kitchens out of there in 1 year. You're like, hey,
Right.
he's my guy. I like him. And then
Yeah.
they're like, no, frig this guy. I got to get this guy out of here. And they elevate, Stefanski. And he's had Odell with their, the wide receivers that they brought in there to try and help,
All
Jerry,
kinds of
Judy,
all kinds.
everybody.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper. That's what I mean. The weapons to do this. Plus, they had Nick Chubb, you know what I mean? And still couldn't get it done with that great defense.
And not to
So
mention
there's no more excuses anymore. He's
right,
got it now.
not to mention, think about when Stefanski first took over the job. He had a veteran riddled offensive line that was pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. Solid, right?
Mhm.
And you didn't do what was necessary to bring in receiving talent, to bring in a quarterback. Well, I'll just say, if they kept Baker Mayfield and then just built around him with that offensive line, who knows what the Cleveland Browns could be today? Who knows? They could be one of the better teams. It's just one of those things where when bad decisions are made, it definitely knocks the organization back for years, not just a couple years and they'll get back on their feet. No, it hinders you greatly.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely, Joe. So, yeah, I'm glad with you. I just had to get off my chest, and you actually did it for me, though. So that felt good either way. Uh, Injuries again. We touched on that already.
We talked about
With key ones that mattered. I think injuries, as far as for teams that aren't going to be in the playoffs, it is what it is for that. And I think with some of those teams, we're going to be looking forward to see who their starting quarterbacks might be, or movement going forward further with everyone. But the key injuries were, the Justin, Herbert one with playing injured, which I think is going to
I
be
think he's
telling throughout the season.
yeah,
Um,
they got that
but
pretty well worked out. Like, yeah, it's still going
oh,
to
it's
be
gonna be
painful,
tough.
but
Yeah,
at least it's not. Listen, if it was a
no, I get
scoring
it.
hand, he wouldn't be in there.
I get it.
You know,
But then the biggest one is Daniel Jones obviously going down.
suffered a
That
torn
just
Achilles, ending a
crushed
season.
the season for them.
Yeah,
So
of course. We've talked about this before. Any team that loses their starting quarterback, normally a lot of teams don't have a good backup. So you can't even like salvage the season. This is
yep.
a roll of the dice type of move where like now that they know that Daniel Jones is done for the year, that they bring in 44-year-old Philip Rivers off the couch and hoping for the best. We'll see. Well, who knows? You know, who knows? But
Yeah, we shall see.
we'll see if that happens. Uh,
All right.
another thing to mention: Trey Hendrickson. Little bit of
Yeah.
news here. Will have core muscle surgery. That is ending his season.
Hmm.
Obviously. Now, the interesting thing is he was only signed to basically a 1-year deal. So
Yep.
ending his season now. Now we've known the Bengals for quite some time. Never could get a deal done with Trey. Does that mean that now he's gonna ride off into free agency? Or do the Bengals still try their damnedest to try to keep him in Cincy?
Mm,
So,
we shall
can't
see.
wait can't wait for that to transpire. But, again,
Absolutely.
it's one of those things, you gotta deal with these injuries sometimes. Sometimes they're so critical that you just simply can't overcome them.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so that's it for the show. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate you guys. If you would go ahead, subscribe to the channel Grumblings Media on YouTube, and also hit the like button and comment. Leave a comment. We love to respond to your guys' comments out there as well too. And we will see you guys in the next one.